Selling radio to planners. Sellers who call on agencies are most effective when they work the planners who can make the decisions as well as the buyers. So this is a case where in radio, if you're working with an ad agency, if you can get permission and get access to those that are actually going to be involved, invested in what's going to happen with the ad campaign, that's a win-win for the client and for the radio station, so that you can do some of the things that we've talked about with needs analysis and putting together presentations and all that sort of thing. Karen Ritchie had emphasized the importance of specialization in advertising. She says specialization in brands means not food guys, but hamburger guys. So it's one of those things where we've talked about niche formats with different types of programming. We're kind of talking about niche advertising markets here as well. So, where you may talk about fast food, well, you may want to break that down even further into the fast food companies that specialize in hamburgers versus the fast food guys that specialize in chicken. So the more specialized that you can get, the more that you know your particular client, the better it's going to be for the client, especially if the audience the client is trying to get matches the audience that you provide at your station. Once upon a time, though, Ritchie found that radio salespeople were below par in knowledge of her client's product. She says it's important to know that Buick does not make the Grand Am. She was making a statement there that radio people need to know their clients and know exactly what it is that they do, know what it is that they don't do, know their competition. So know as much about the client as you possibly can so that you can service the client and meet their needs to the best of your ability. Ritchie developed these rules for meeting with media planners. Number 1, follow protocol. Let the buyer know you are meeting with the planners. So this ties in with the second rule, no surprises. Let the buyer know what you will do. And number 3, no sneak attacks. So basically, you want to be open and honest when you're dealing with the buyer and when you're dealing with the planners, and let them know what you are doing and how you're doing it and what your end game is going to be. You don't want to go over somebody's head just for the sake of getting a sale. Fourthly, sell radio. She's talking about selling radio as an industry. And that is primary, with selling your particular station as being secondary. If you sell the medium of radio, your business will benefit. Fifthly, bring ideas. Ideas and questions get planners involved. So the more that you bring to the table in trying to find out what the client is all about, what the client's needs are, the more receptive the prospect is going to be in buying your medium. Ad agency media planners like the following benefits of radio the most. They like the ability to target specific demos. The fact that formats will gather a certain type of audience, usually within a certain age range, between males and females, and that those different demographics will have certain psychographics to them, certain types of buying behaviors and consumer behaviors. Second, they like the fact that radio offers high frequency, that they can get a spot aired numerous times within a schedule. They like radio's creativity, that you can usually get the radio station to do your production for you, to do the copywriting, to do the production, and that many times those spots can be rather creative. Fourthly, They like the short lead time with the ability to change messages. In other words, very quick turnaround from when the sale is made to the copy being written to the spot being produced to the spot being on the air. Does not take nearly as long as that process takes for television. Fifthly, the availability of both qualitative and quantitative data. So yes, ratings and shares, but also much more detailed information that gets into the psyche of the listener and understanding how the listener is receptive or not receptive to certain messages. And finally, superior cost alternative aspects compared to television. Doesn't cost near as much to produce an ad and to get it on the air. There are a couple criticisms, though, that planners have of spot radio. One is that it does not have as effective of a reach because most stations are not going to appeal to general audiences compared to network television. And secondly, the lack of visuals, where we are relying on theater of the mind, so you don't have as much control as to what that mind is going to picture when they hear your ad. All right, let's take a look at selling local radio. Gary Fry says, we think we're in the radio business, but we're a bridge between the advertiser and the listener. When we go to a prospective advertising client, we're not there to sell them radio. We're there to help the advertiser get a message out to our audience. They could care less about the fact that it's advertising in and of itself. They could care less about the fact that we're with a radio station. They care about driving business into their establishment. Fry's credits consolidation with allowing failing stations to add new niche formats to raise the level of good quality inventory. One of the things that consolidation did do is that it allowed radio stations that may not have as strong of signals, that may have smaller audience numbers, to be able to be paired up with more powerful stations within the cluster to be able to add that to an attractive advertising buy for particular clients that may want to reach larger audiences and be able to do that across multiple stations and multiple formats. Charlie Colombo says local personalities and local promotion make a station win in its market. The same thing makes an advertiser successful. So the ways that a radio station is going to be popular with the public in its market, and the way that it pushes that is through its local presence, the way it presents itself in the community, the way that the on-air talent makes itself known and available to the community. And those same things, while they're going to be effective for the station itself, are also going to be effective for that station's advertisers. The advertisers are going to benefit from that association just as much as the station itself. So many local radio stations depend on local accounts for their livelihoods because local advertisers depend on the local stations to get messages to their customers. The smaller the market, the higher the percentage of local business on the station. And this is true even today because a lot of smaller stations, especially stations that are not in larger markets, are still going to be owned by the mom and pops. So they may not have access to be able to get some of the larger national clients. So the bread and butter for those stations especially, but most stations as a whole, is going to be from the locally based advertisers. Therefore, selling direct is radio's greatest strength. The salespeople at the radio station hitting the pavement, getting on the phone, networking with people in the community, and trying to make those relationships so that they can eventually turn those relationships into business relationships. Selling ideas. Jim Tazarek says advertisers have tons of information. What they need is ideas. They're looking for a great spot, a great campaign. They're looking for an edge. Again, advertisers want you to help them solve a problem. What problem is that? Depends on the advertiser. Could just be brand awareness. It could be to promote a sale. It could be to increase traffic to a particular location. It could be to increase sales on a particular product. Whatever it is, they're looking to do those things, and they're looking for you as the salesperson to help them to come up with ideas on how to promote to be able to solve that problem that they have. To demonstrate that you or your station is a resource for ideas, you want to start with your presentation. Attract attention by using your presentation. It takes creativity, an idea that sets your proposal apart as something special. You don't want to just go in there with a pitch and be just like, hey, I have a radio station, we have advertising, y'all come. Again, they don't care. They want to hear somebody that is as passionate about them succeeding as they themselves are. And the more that you can do that, and the more that you present your material in such a way that it is attractive to them, the more receptive they are going to be at your pitch for them to come on as an advertiser. Your textbook has different tactics that different radio stations have used to try to win over clients in the past. So now let's talk about looking good. There was an ad campaign a long time ago. Can't remember what the brand was right now, but they said you can never have a second chance to make a good first impression. Once again, Jim Tazarek. We are competing with everybody who does business with our clients, not just other radio stations or media outlets. So you are not just competing with the radio station down the street. You're competing with television stations. You're competing with newspaper advertising agents. You're competing with direct mail. You're competing with people that print flyers. You're competing with people that print menus for restaurants. Everybody is vying for your prospect's attention. So you have to keep that in mind. You are one of many, many people that is looking for them to invest in your company with advertising. Every radio station owes it to its clients and to its sales staff to look good. With the technology of desktop publishing, there's no reason to look anything but professional with your presentations. The use of graphics, the use of nice clean pages and white space, good quality print. Laser printers have become much more affordable to be able to present materials. And now with online publications, you can make those look nice and sharp as well. There's no excuse to not have a nice looking presentation. When you put the presentation together, you want to do so in client terms. Mike Mahone says, start from the prospect's perception of reality and not our own opinion of how it is or how it ought to be, and use those perceptions as the foundation of the entire proposal. You're getting into the mind of the prospect. Again, what is it that they are looking for? You're trying to answer the question, what's in it for them? Help them to understand what it is that you know and what you're presenting. You want to present that in a language that the prospect is going to understand and is going to be attracted to. Mahone uses the prospect's logo on the cover of presentations. He suggests that it should be the largest item on the page, demonstrating right up front that the subject of the proposal is going to be the client, that the client will be the most important entity in the discourse that will follow. It's all about them. Make them feel like they're valuable. Make them feel like that they are important to you. and that you want to see them succeed just as much as they want to see them succeed. To be completely customer-focused, Jim Tazarek suggests avoiding the word pitch or presentation when talking to a prospect, because that's what's in it for us as salespeople. Let's use the words with client benefits, what it'll do for them. The people with the money. Yeah, okay. So now we're kind of understanding what it means to look at things from the client perspective, what it means to service the client and make them feel valuable and important. His suggestions include using words like a plan, an advertising blueprint, and a radio advertising flowchart. Something that talks about them going into more of a strategy, something that is going to benefit them, as opposed to just being sold something. Put the customer first. The radio station is a conduit for the message between the advertiser and the people who will buy the advertiser's product or service. So again, you're not selling advertising. You're selling a medium through which the advertiser can convey his or her message to your audience. It's not about you. It's not about the station. It's about them and servicing and meeting and exceeding their needs and expectations. Targeting with radio. Format differences are of tremendous advantage to advertisers who target their buys and their messages to the specific audiences of each station. What is your message? Who is your audience? And the format that you carry is going to appeal to a certain type of person. So those specific type of people are hopefully the types of people that your advertisers want to reach. Listeners are generally in a positive frame of mind when they've chosen their favorite music or radio personality for companionship. The radio commercial uses that environment to transfer positive feelings to the product or service being advertised. So again, it's that idea of association. They're tuning in, choosing their favorite radio station because they're enjoying the content of that station, and assuming that they stick with the station through all the content, including advertising, then the advertisers are going to enjoy the benefit of the fact that the listener is listening to a station that they admire. Tony Schwartz talks about commercials as a form of narrowcasting. He says, an advertiser is only interested in that part of the audience that has a need for his product or may become interested in it. So as you really stop to think about it, the advertiser isn't even really interested in your entire demographic audience. He's interested in people that are going to be attracted to his or her message. And they're going to take a look at the audience that you have and determine if that person or people that they're trying to attract is going to be found there. Radio at work. Some more updated stats for you compared to what's in the book. 17.6%, or about 1 in 6 workers listen to radio at work. And those numbers are going to be slightly higher for professionals and for high-income earners. Most workers that get to choose the station they listen to will listen based on the kind of music that it offers. Most will listen to one radio station all day at work. They're not going to have the ability to get up and change the dial. So they're going to tune into a station and lock in, which also means locking into the commercials that are playing. And many say that radio listening helps their productivity at work, so they enjoy having the radio on as a background to their workday. So in a sense, you kind of have a captive audience when you have people that are working that are listening to radio.